In this video, we'll take a look at how to use content-aware fill in Photoshop CC to create some interesting digital artwork. So first of all, let's take a look at what content-aware fill is actually supposed to be used for. So I have a piece of artwork here, and let's say that for some reason in this piece of artwork, this could even be a photograph too, let's say that this is missing a piece. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and just filled this with some white. Let's say this piece is missing, and I want to try to repair that and have these two columns extend all the way to the top. What I'll do is I'll use the magic wand tool to make a selection of that missing area, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, and then I'm going to choose Content Aware, and I'm going to choose OK. Content Aware looks at what's around the missing area and tries to go ahead and fill in what's missing based on the pattern that it sees around it. So it's done a pretty good job here. I'll zoom in, and you can see that it added this weird little area here, but that's not really hard to fix. I'll just use one of the clone brushes. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It's a really amazing feature, and it can fill in some areas in your photographs that are missing. But what I want to do in this video is take a look at how to use this from a creative, artistic standpoint to create some really interesting random effects in your artwork. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of artwork to start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to Corel Painter 2015, and I'm just going to really quickly just create something abstract. It doesn't have to be anything specific because it's not going to be the final piece of artwork. It's just going to be an element or a tool that we use to create the artwork. Alright, so I have my abstract piece of art. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save that as a PSD and put it into Photoshop. And now that it's inside of Photoshop, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to modify it in some different ways. I'm going to use Control A to select all, and then I'm going to use Control X to cut, and Control V to paste. Then I'm going to use Control T, and I'm going to scale this down smaller. I'm going to go ahead and click on the checkbox to commit to that change. And I'm going to go to my background, and let's go ahead and make our background white. You could really make it any color you want, but I think I'll make it white in this case. You could fill it with the paint bucket, or I just used my keyboard shortcut of Shift F5, which invokes the Edit Fill command, and then I filled with foreground color. I'm going to move this layer around, and then I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and drag. And when I hold Alt and drag, I drag a duplicate. I'm going to keep doing that. They don't have to be lined up. You could really just do this spontaneously. What we're going to do is we're going to create chaos and just make a random pattern, and then we're going to leave an empty area and let the computer decide how to use content aware to fill in that missing pattern. So the computer is basically going to be forced to help us make the art. The computer doesn't know what it's doing because it's not a sentient being, it's just an algorithm or a program, but the way that it behaves is kind of interesting because it makes artistic, creative decisions. So it kind of makes you wonder about how much decision making we're doing when we're making art. So what I'm going to do now is after I've made all these layers here, I'm going to hold Shift on the keyboard, click on the bottommost layer to select all of these layers as a group, and then I'm going to hit Control E on my keyboard to group them. I'm going to hit Control T to invoke Free Transform, scale this down smaller, and I'm going to put it right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the magic wand tool, and I'm going to click outside in this blank area here, and I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, change it to Content Aware Fill, and I'm going to click OK, and let's just see what it does. Now, depending on how big you make your canvas, it may take a while to fill this in. Mine did it pretty quick. I'm going to hit Control D to make the selection go away, and you can see that it went ahead and filled in some of the pattern here. So now, that wasn't very challenging. Let's make it a little more challenging. Let's turn it to the side, and let's go ahead and try filling in that area. I'm just going to use the keyboard shortcut of Shift F5, and there we go. We have kind of an interesting pattern here. Now, it's important to save often because this does get a little processor intensive when you start to do a lot of work, especially if it's a large canvas, so make sure to save often. I'm going to go ahead and save. And then I'm going to hit Control T, scale this down again, move it over, kind of drag a duplicate with Alt, just leave some missing areas here. I'm going to go ahead and merge all those layers again with Control E, select the magic wand, and Shift F5 to fill with content aware again. Let's do Control D to deselect. This time let's do a Control A to select all, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Let's do Control T, And really you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing here. You can do any kind of modifications you want, but basically what I'm doing is just transforming these in some different ways. Alright, so something like this looks kind of cool. Let's go ahead and merge that down with Control E, hit Control T again, scale it down again, and let's go ahead and use the magic wand and Content Aware Fill to fill in that blank area. Now we're starting to get some pretty crazy results here. Let's do Control D to deselect. Let's do Control A. Let's copy, let's paste. Let's transform, and my computer's crashed. So it's good that this happened. I'm going to go ahead and leave this in the video because you'll see when it starts to get really complex, even on a pretty fast computer, Photoshop gets a little irritated. So you want to make sure that you save often. I didn't do that, so I'm probably going to lose some progress. And of course I did lose some progress. So let's make lemonade out of lemons, and let's go ahead and look at another way that we can make this random. I'm going to use the polygonal lasso, and then I'm going to hit Control X to cut, Control V to paste. Now I have like this piece that I cut off. It's on its own layer. I'm going to return to the original layer, and I'm going to cut off another random piece here using the polygonal lasso. Control X, Control V to paste. If you want, you can also just click the eyeball to hide these pieces to get them out of the way temporarily. Going to cut off another piece. Make sure you're cutting them off of the master layer here. Control X, Control V, hide that. And let's just do 2 more pieces here. We'll do this one. And that's probably good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just rearrange these out of order while leaving some amount of a gap in here. Let's try this. So I'm going to go ahead and merge these layers with Control E. Take my magic wand. If you want to select multiple white areas, you hold Shift. Make sure we get them all. Then I'm going to go ahead and save really quick so I don't lose any progress again. I'm going to hit Shift F5 to fill. Make sure that I select Content Aware Fill. And let's see what it does. I did a pretty interesting job there. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a time lapse and catch up with you at the end of that. Alright, so I think that looks kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this so that you can see what it's done. It's made a really cool fractal pattern that just kind of seems to go forever. And you can get some really interesting results doing this. It's always going to be different each time, and that's the cool thing about the Content Aware Fill, is it's kind of unpredictable. Here are a few other pieces that I've created using Content Aware Fill. It's really interesting. I hope you try it out, and if you enjoyed this video, take a quick second to like it and share it with your friends. And don't forget to click the subscribe button below to get updates when I release new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.